In this video, we're gonna learn how to properly set up your lash tile. So if you're not someone who likes working from a tile, say you like working from the wrist tiles or from the back of your hand or something like that, there's no shame in that, that's totally fine. But today we're gonna learn how to set up our tile. So you'll see here that I have our Lost Artistry Lash Tile. I have a standard tile that I literally got from Home Depot or any depot store that's in your area. It is literally a sample of a tile. And then I also have the back of our Lost Artistry Extra Large Pro Fan tray. So you can use any of these to set your tile up. It doesn't have to be anything fancy like our Lost Artistry Lash Tile, although obviously it's really nice to have something that has all of the lengths written on it and you can keep it in a really sanitary place, like inside of the tile home. That's the benefit of having something like this. You literally keep your lashes on it, you put them in the tile home, and then you can keep them really clean in between services. So we have that option. The one thing that I really like about an actual tile is that it is so heavy. So it's not gonna slide around while you're working, and when you're creating those handmade fans, you do want something really sturdy. So this is a good option if you find that you're like me and you need something really, really sturdy. And these are only like $2 from a Home Depot store, so there's nothing wrong with that. Only issue is this is not going to stay sanitary. You need to clean it, and you also need to make sure that you store it in something like a Tupperware container or something in between uses to make sure that no dirt and debris is going to collect on your lash strips. You want to make sure that those lash strips stay so sanitary and free of dirt and debris. And with these tiles, you can just throw it in acetone. It's fine. It'll wash off all, see all these little glue stickies on the tile? I'm not sure if you can see that. But this tile has not been cleaned today with acetone. So I just wanted to show you what that looks like. So you can just throw this in acetone and it'll be totally fine. And then all that stuff will come off. Otherwise, it's gonna be really hard to clean it. And then we have the back of a tile. Now again, making sure that your tile's always sanitary. If you have to disinfect the back of your tray, please do so. Same with your Lost Artistry Lash Tile. Every surface that you're actually going to work on needs to be disinfected. So with that said, now, how do we set up our tile? It's very similar to classic lash setup, but there are some tweaks that you're gonna wanna make that are different between your classics and your volume. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up some lashes. So I have our Lost Artistry Lash B Curl 0.07 8 to 15 mix tray here. And I'm using a spare tweezer that I have a really pointy tip. I find the pointed tip makes it easy to maneuver in around to the corner of your lash strip to pick it up, and then you can release it with ease. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that on there. I'm not lashing from this, just so you know. I would always disinfect if I was going to lash from the strip, but I just wanna show you how it's done today. So I have 10 millimeters set out, come back in. Now, the reason why I'm using a spare tweezer instead of a tweezer that I'm gonna be lashing with is because the back of our lash strips have a sticky residue on it. And if I'm taking my lash strips out of the tray and that sticky residue gets stuck on the back of my tweezers or inside of my tweezers here, then I'm not gonna be able to lash like that, especially not creating a fan and gripping a bundle, because the individual lashes are gonna get stuck to the glue in here. So if you do use the same tweezers, there's no shame in that, but you're gonna wanna make sure that you clean them really well before you start lashing. Now you'll notice that I set my 9 up and my 10 up. They're pretty far apart. You don't have to put them this far apart on your tray, but absolutely need to be at least this far apart on your tile. Even I would say these two are a little bit too close together. And why is it so important to space them out pretty far? The reason why is because we need a contrast between the strip of lashes and the tile. You wanna make sure your tile's light on the back, or some color that's gonna offer a contrast between the black lashes or whatever color lashes you're using and the tile. If we don't have that contrast, then we're not gonna be able to see what we're doing. Let me show you an example here. So right now, I'll be able to see perfectly the fan that I'm making, but if I take that strip, I move it really close to this other strip here, I wouldn't even be able to see the fan that I'm making. I'm gonna do an example. I'm just gonna take some of these off. Again, this is just for an example for you guys. But let's say I'm making a fan here. I can't even see if my fan's fanned out properly because there's no contrast between the lashes. So how would I know if my fan was symmetrical if I can't see anything? I wouldn't. So now let's move it back to where it was. Space it out. Grip my bundle. And fan. I can see perfectly now. So that's really important. You're gonna have such a hard time lashing if you don't properly space out your strips. Now, one thing that I didn't take into consideration when putting my lash strips on for this example is that I need to worry about where I'm gonna put my glue. So if I'm working right here and I put my glue right here, I'm risking putting my hand in the glue or not having enough stability. I need stability while I work, and that means that I'm gonna take over this area right here. So if I were to lay my glue, it could not be here because I'm right-handed. It would have to be on the left side in the top corner. If I started down further, like let's say I put my strips down here, then I have a lot more room to work with up here. So I could take my crystal glue holder if I wanted. I could also leave that. Crystal glue holders are really heavy, which is nice. They keep your glue better for longer too, but they're really heavy so they can almost sit by themselves somewhere. And same with your jade stone, great option. The only thing with your jade stone is that you'll want to have a glue sticker and put it directly on your jade stone so that you don't get glue residue on your jade stone because it's really hard to clean off. You can throw it in acetone, but it still looks pretty gross afterwards. So just save yourself the time and put a brand new clean glue sticker on there, and then you can put your glue dot right on the top. Unless you're someone who likes to work from one tile, which is fine too. Sometimes I can even take a little bit of tape, put it on the back of my jade stone, and then tape it onto my area. That way then when I move my tray around, the glue is not falling all over the place and the jade stone doesn't fall off. So that's an option as well. And now if you want to work directly from the tile, I would suggest getting some Micropore tape and putting it right on the side of your tile, especially if you have a ton of lashes on there, you're not going to have a lot of room. And if you're someone who moves your tile around a lot, then having a piece of Micropore tape is a really great option because it keeps your glue dome together. I know we've already chatted about that in other modules, but I just want to refresh our memory on that. So that is how I set up my tile and some really helpful pointers that I have when you're creating your own lash tile. So when we're working with our Pro Fan strips, we're going to turn our tile sideways. We're going to take our Pro Fan strip and we're going to place it on the tile sideways. And just quickly take a look at how much longer that Pro Fan strip is than the handmade strip. So it's really important that you do turn your tile sideways. Otherwise, you can just go ahead, take a pair of scissors and just snip, cut it in half and lay it on your tile the way that you would normally for classics or for volume. And when I work with my Pro Fans and I have my tile turned sideways, I have all this room over here to place my glue or my crystal glue holder. So it just depends on the way that you like to work, but these are some things that work really well for me. And by all means, create something unique for you. You don't have to follow these rules to a T, but it's really nice to see how other people work and then create your own way.